Right now, somewhere in your city, two drivers are buying new tires on the same afternoon. One walks into the shop and asks for the same brand his dad always bought. He doesn't look at test data. He doesn't compare anything. He sees a familiar logo, pays a premium for it, and drives off feeling like he made the responsible choice. The other driver spent 20 minutes the night before looking up independent test results. He found a brand he had genuinely never heard of, a brand that in a major head-to-head test actually beat the exact tire the first driver just paid extra for. Same performance, sometimes better performance, for hundreds less. That gap between those two drivers is not luck. It is information. And it exists because most people buy tires the same way they buy cereal, by recognizing the name on the package rather than reading what's actually inside it. I have been mounting, balancing, and inspecting tires for over 15 years, and I am constantly stunned by what people walk past without a second look. Today I am covering 7 tire brands that almost everyone ignores, and every single one of them is sitting on test results that should be making headlines instead of being buried in spec sheets nobody reads. Brand number 3 quietly beat Michelin, Goodyear, and Continental in a major test 3 years running. Brand number 1 is winning customer satisfaction outright while undercutting the household names on price. By the end of this video, you are going to shop for tires completely differently than you did this morning. Let's get into it. Before we get into the list, hit subscribe right now and turn on the bell. Every week on this channel, we dig into the real data behind the products people overpay for without realizing it: tires, parts, upgrades, and the brands that actually deserve your money. It's free. It takes 1 second, and it might save you a few $100s on your next set. Subscribe now. Let's get into these brands. Falcon, the brand people still picture on a project car. When most people hear the name Falcon, assuming they have heard it at all, they picture cheap rubber on a beat-up project car sitting in someone's driveway. That image is years out of date, and clinging to it is quietly costing buyers real money. Falcon is a Japanese brand, and over the last decade, it has moved from an afterthought to a legitimate factory choice on vehicles people actually want to drive. The Falcon Wild Peak series has become a factory all-terrain option on the Ford Bronco Sport, and you'll find Falcon fitments on off-road trims of the Toyota RAV4 as well. Here is why that matters more than it sounds like it should. When an automaker chooses a tire for the assembly line, that tire has survived a brutal validation process most consumers never see or think about. The manufacturer tests for wet braking, dry handling, tread life, road noise, and rolling resistance, because every single one of those numbers affects warranty claims and the fuel economy rating the manufacturer is legally accountable for. So when Falcon shows up as original equipment on Toyota, Subaru, Mazda, Ford, and Ram products, that's not a marketing decision. That's engineering data speaking for itself. Here's where people get it wrong though. Falcon's strength is model-specific, not brand-wide. In Consumer Reports brand-level rankings, Falcon sits mid-pack, a number that scares off shoppers who only glance at the overall brand score and move on. But that average hides real standouts. The Azenis line has gone toe-to-toe with premium performance tires in head-to-head testing, and the Wild Peak all-terrains have built a reputation among truck and crossover owners that rivals tires costing significantly more. The lesson: don't buy the brand, buy the specific model with the test results behind it. A driver who does that homework walks out paying less for a tire that performs like something far more expensive. Vredestein, the European brand most Americans have never seen on a shelf. This name is a mouthful, and that is probably part of why it has stayed invisible in North America. Vredestein is Dutch, one of Europe's oldest tire manufacturers, with history tracing back to 1909. Today it's owned by India's Apollo Tires, and it has spent the better part of a decade quietly stacking up test wins that American shoppers simply have not noticed. This is the definition of a goldmine brand, a company proving itself in some of the toughest testing programs in the world while flying completely under the radar where you actually shop. Here's the result that should get your attention. The Vredestein Ultrac won the 2024 Auto Express Summer Tire Test, beating out the Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 6 for first place. It earned that win across wet performance, dry performance, noise, and comfort, and it did it at a lower price than most of its rivals. Sit with that for a second. A tire took top honors against one of the most respected performance tires in the world in a controlled European program, while costing less. In the all-season category, Vredestein's Quatrac has gone head-to-head with Goodyear's Vector 4 Seasons across more than a dozen evaluation categories and held its own. And it's not just Lab Numbers Consumer Reports named Vredestein the best major tire brand for customer satisfaction in 2025, a measurement of real owners living with these tires day to day, not engineers on a closed track. The catch is availability. Selection in the United States is smaller, and you may need to order rather than grab a set off the rack. But for a driver willing to do a little legwork, you get European tested performance for less than the premium names, and almost nobody around you even knows the brand exists. Hankook dominating one arena while nobody talks about it. Hankook is not small. This South Korean company has been making tires since 1941 and ranks among the largest tire manufacturers on the planet, supplying original equipment to major automakers worldwide. But here's the strange disconnect: its reputation among everyday buyers has never caught up to its actual test results. People still mentally file it under budget when the data says something completely different. If you drive an electric vehicle, pay close attention to this one. In AutoBuild's electric vehicle tire test, Hankook's ION Evo took the overall win ahead of Michelin, Goodyear, and Continental. 3 years in a row. AutoBuild's testing is among the most rigorous in the industry, and Hankook didn't squeak by. It beat the 3 most prestigious names in the business at one of the hardest jobs a modern tire faces, handling the instant torque and heavy battery weight of an EV without wearing out prematurely. And it's not limited to EVs. When reviewers compared Hankook's Ventus Evo against the Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 6, the Ventus won 5 out of 6 test categories, 5 out of 6 against a Goodyear flagship. Hankook typically prices below Goodyear too, which means in that comparison you weren't just getting a cheaper alternative, you were getting the better tire for less money. Consumer Reports brand testing backs this up, evaluating dozens of brands across handling, braking, snow traction, hydroplaning resistance, and tread life, with Hankook placing ahead of Goodyear overall. The reason this matters for your wallet: Hankook has the manufacturing scale, the ohm contracts, and the test pedigree of a premium brand, but carries the price and public reputation of a mid-tier one. That gap between perception and reality is where you save money, and right now it's one of the widest gaps in the entire industry. Nokian, the winter legend that quietly dominates all seasons too. For this one, let's go somewhere cold, because this brand built its entire legend on conditions that destroy lesser tires. Nokian is a Finnish company with roots back to 1898. If you live somewhere winter actually means something, you owe it to yourself to know this name. Nokian is best known for its Hakkapeliitta winter tire line, which is close to legendary in Nordic markets, and Consumer Reports has officially recommended Nokian's non-studded Hakkapeliitta winter tire. When a company spends over a century perfecting traction on ice and packed snow in a country that sees brutal winters every single year, that expertise doesn't stay locked inside the winter category, it bleeds into everything else they build. Here's the part that surprises people. Nokian's all-season range has been making serious noise in European testing too, not just its winter lineup. In a 2025 test of premium all-season tires, the Nokian Season Proof 2 took first place, excelling in snow braking and snow handling while staying competitive in wet performance and rolling resistance. In that same test, Goodyear's Vector 4 Seasons finished at the bottom, struggling in dry and wet braking and hydroplaning resistance. In a separate SUV all-season test, the Nokian Season Proof 2 delivered the shortest wet braking distance in the entire field and was the fastest around the handling course, with a Goodyear competitor finishing behind it in both wet braking and wet handling. I'll be honest with you, because honesty is the whole point of this channel. Goodyear genuinely tends to perform better in deep snow and on ice in some comparisons. This is not a blanket claim that Nokian wins everywhere. But if you want a brand engineered from the ground up for genuine all-weather capability, with wet performance that embarrasses some premium names and a winter pedigree nobody on earth can match, Nokian is a gold mine most American drivers walk straight past. Kumho undercutting the competition since 1960. This South Korean manufacturer has been around since 1960 and built its entire identity on one simple promise: real performance at a price that undercuts the premium competition. Kumho figured out exactly where it wanted to compete, primarily the Grand Touring segment, where it offers more than a dozen models alongside summer tires, ultra-high performance options, and even track-only competition tires. Here's the headline that should make you sit up. In Consumer Reports' 2026 brand rankings, Kumho was ranked higher than Goodyear. Let that sink in. A brand most people think of as a budget option outscored one of the most famous names in the business in independent testing. Goodyear landed in 7th overall that year, sitting between Hankook and Nokian, two other brands on this list, while Kumho placed above it. But I'm going to give you the straight truth on Kumho, because that's how you actually save money, instead of just chasing a name in the opposite direction. Kumho is genuinely hit or miss across its lineup, and you need to know that going in. Models like the Krugen HP71, the Solus TA11, and the Krugen Premium score strong marks and are competitive in their segments. Others score lower in specific areas. Tire Rack's testing showed the Solus KL21, for example, had poor winter performance and lower than expected tread wear. The move with Kumho is the exact same discipline as Falcon. Don't buy the brand, buy the specific model that tested well for the driving you actually do. A driver who looks up the data on the individual model can land a tire that beats Goodyear-level competition for noticeably less. A driver who just grabs whatever Kumho is cheapest might end up with one of the weaker models. The brand is a gold mine, but only if you mine the right vein. Sumitomo Premium Heritage. At a value price, Sumitomo sounds premium because it shares heritage with a giant, yet it sits at a price point that makes it one of the best kept secrets on the shelf. Sumitomo is part of a massive Japanese tire conglomerate, the same corporate family connected to some very well-known names in the industry, which means it has access to serious engineering and manufacturing capability. Yet on the shelf, it carries the reputation and price of a value brand. In brand rankings, Sumitomo lands in a tie around the middle of the pack, grouped with names like Nexen and Firestone, telling you it delivers solid, dependable performance rather than chasing the very top of the chart. For most drivers, that is exactly the sweet spot. Across independent testing, Sumitomo tends to score better than most brands at building a genuinely good, well-rounded tire. The one consistent weakness is deep winter conditions, where it falls behind the true snow specialists, and even there, it outperforms a lot of its competition. It's a tad more expensive than rock-bottom bargain brands, but for that small premium, you're getting a tire built by a company with real engineering depth behind it. Sumitomo is a gold mine because it occupies a quiet middle ground nobody talks about. No marketing budget plastering its name across racing broadcasts. No rock-bottom price tempting bargain shoppers to take a chance. It gets overlooked by both crowds. Meanwhile, the driver who picks Sumitomo for everyday commuting and highway miles in a climate without brutal winters walks away with a quietly excellent tire and money left in their pocket. Vredestein, the metric that matters most. I'm going back to Vredestein for the top spot because of all 7 brands covered today, it pulled off something none of the others did. Consumer Reports named Vredestein the best major tire brand for customer satisfaction in 2025. I want you to understand why this specific honor outweighs almost everything else we've discussed. Lab tests measure a tire on its best day, on a closed course, with professional drivers and controlled conditions. Customer satisfaction measures what happens after the tire goes home, with thousands of regular people who drive it through potholes, rainstorms, summer heat, and winter slush, and then report back honestly on whether they'd buy it again. To top that ranking, a tire has to deliver in the messy reality of everyday driving, not just on a test track. Vredestein topped it. Pair that real-world satisfaction with the test wins already covered the Ultrac beating a Goodyear flagship in a major summer comparison while costing less. The Quatrac holding its own against premium all seasons across more than a dozen categories, and you have a brand that performs in the lab and gets loved in the driveway. The only thing standing between you and this tire is that it's harder to find in North America, and the name is unfamiliar, which is exactly why it earns the #1 spot. Every other brand on this list has at least some shelf presence and recognition. Vredestein is the closest thing to a true hidden gem, a European-engineered tire with over a century of history. Topping customer satisfaction in the same year it's beating household names in performance testing. Most drivers will never even consider it, simply because they've never heard the name. That information gap is the gold mine. The people who know save money and get a better tire. The people who don't keep paying a premium for a logo. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The single biggest mistake I see drivers make is treating the brand name on the sidewall as if it were the performance data. It isn't. The real performance lives in the independent test results for the specific model you're actually buying. And once you start shopping that way, an entire world of better, cheaper tires opens up. Falcon, Vredestein, Hankook, Nokian, Kumho, and Sumitomo are beating, matching, or coming within a hair of the famous names in test after test, often for meaningfully less money. The only reason more people don't buy them is that nobody ever told them these brands existed. Now you know. Before you replace your next set, look up the test results for the exact models you're considering. For your climate and your kind of driving. There's a good chance there's a gold mine sitting right there in the catalog, waiting for someone to actually read the label instead of just recognizing it. If this changed how you'll shop for your next set of tires, hit subscribe and ring that bell. Now here's my question for the comments. Which of these 7 brands surprised you the most? Pick one and tell me why. A. Hankook beating Michelin, Goodyear, and Continental in EV testing 3 years running. Genuinely shocked me. I've been driving past that brand at the shop for years thinking it was a budget option. B. I had never even heard of Vredestein before this video, and finding out it's beating Goodyear on performance A&D winning customer satisfaction while being nearly invisible in the US is exactly the kind of gap I want to take advantage of. C. I already own a set from one of these brands and I want to tell everyone in the comments exactly how it's performed for me. Because more people need to hear from actual owners instead of just lab data. Drop your answer below. I read every comment. And if you're about to buy tires, share this with someone who's still walking in and asking for the same 3 names everyone else buys. They need to see this before they overpay. I'll see you in the next one.